Senate Bill 150 will become law. Today in Frankfort, Republican lawmakers in both chambers overturned Governor Andy Beshear's veto of a bill critics see as a bill being against transgender youth.
The bill includes a ban on gender-affirming care for transgender youth. This afternoon, both the Senate and the House voted to override Governor Andy Beshear's veto of the bill. During the House discussion, troopers removed several protesters from the gallery.
Trans rights are human rights!
The protest started earlier in the day as hundreds gathered on the lawn outside the Capitol to protest SB 150, which they say is anti-LGBTQ.
Now we're going to hear a little bit from our other student organizer, Madison Yates.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Madison Yates, and today I want to make it a big point to discuss the importance of student voices. Students such as myself are the future of not only the state but this country, and it is important to understand that we are going to make a change and we are not going to let these old morals and values stay here.
My struggle with, who I am as a person, I still struggle with who I am as a person today. I know indefinitely, I'm bisexual, but gender identity is something I've never fully dived into. I'm more of an outsider looking in, but I kind of want to knock on the door and be like, hey, is there anything for me inside? So, but I guess when you're a part of a community, there is that pride that you take, I'm proud to be who I am. I'm so used to being behind the camera. This is weird. So, growing up in Kentucky, growing up in Louisville, I really enjoy it, okay? I don't hate it here. I actually really love Kentucky. I love this state. I think it is so beautiful. Some of my favorite, memories is going to Glasgow and Bowling Green and getting to drive past all of the fields. There's this one cow farm, and they sell cows, and the sign that advertises the cows it says used cows for sale, and I love it. It's completely Kentucky. I love my old Kentucky home, and I love it here. It all begins in a creative writing classroom with Miss Judith Scottberger. We're talking about legal things that are happening, what is going on in the world, what is current news. And the current news at the time was SB 150. The news at the time was 150. So, I had heard about it. Murphy had heard about it. We sat next to each other. Murphy was one other school did a walkout. I don't remember what school it was, but a school did a walkout, and we were like, oh, let's do our own. We go through this whole process of making a plan, doing papers, getting people to sign it, and yada yada, and we present it to our principal, and she basically tells us, she's like, this is so organized, let me get back to you. So we meet with her back 2 weeks later, maybe, I don't remember the full dates, but we meet back with her, and she says, why don't you guys go to the Capitol and do a rally, peaceful protest? And that's when shit really started kicking off. I always knew I wanted to go into politics. Obviously, like, I am a film major, like, I want to be a director and stuff, but I knew that I wanted to be an activist and I wanted to go into politics. Before I decided I was going to be an artist, I was going to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a lawyer or the president. It was most likely the lawyer. I wanted to be Elle Woods. So, I kind of did a bunch of legal research, and I read a bunch of things, and I read the whole doctrine, I read everything, and so we got a team together. It was me, Murphy, and Africa. And Murphy was in charge of kind of getting people to be there, like the location, getting people to be there, like all of the like actual when, where, how is this event happening. Africa was in charge of, you know, run of show things, making sure that everything was running smoothly, coming up with the schedule and like all that. And then I had a really, really big job. I was in charge of getting the speakers together.
This country is built on parents being responsible for their children. In fact, truth be told, you don't even like your in-laws to tell you what to do with your kids. In this bill,
16-year-olds are not emailing representatives from their state to be like, hey, do you want to speak out against things? I mean, Pamela Stevenson, like, she is like one of my political idols, and I got to talk to her. I met her. Here's the picture. Like, I love that woman.
We got here. But as a 27-year military veteran, I fought so that all people could have freedoms, not just the ones I liked. As an ordained minister.
It's not a pretty day in Kentucky. Looking out my window. Wait, you can see better. The sun's really pretty, but the snow is really not the greatest. Kind of sad. Oh well, we'll see how the day goes. Okay, my laptop camera is the only camera that I have right now, but new like thing or whatever, there's this new bill, SB 93, that they just, oh my gosh, it's so funny. They just put it into like whatever, they're fighting for it, blah blah blah. But basically this bill, it states that students, like minors, don't have the right to protest within a school, within an education like place. Like, teachers can't support student protesting, they can't encourage it, they can't help with it. Kids aren't allowed to do it in a school setting. And obviously it's based off of like back in March when all the kids got together from schools and went on field trips and stuff because they're like, da da da. But how threatened by a child do you need to feel that you have to take away the protesting rights of a child? When Andy's veto came out, I read it and I was very excited and happy, and I didn't like cry or anything. I just read it and I was like, wow, he cares. And then they overrode that veto, and it's really sad to see one good man going against a lot of bad people. Especially when that one man is supposed to be more powerful than all those people. Yet they overpower him.
Also today, during his Team Kentucky address, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear talked about this, Senate Bill 150. He shared his concerns, saying that he thinks the bill might increase bullying in Kentucky schools.
And I have real concerns based on what I've heard about the bill, that it'll increase bullying in our schools, especially for students that are already marginalized. As a parent of two middle schoolers, school's hard, and bullying is real. We ought to be really thoughtful that we don't do things that subject our kids, anybody's kids, no matter who they are, to more bullying.
I've performed in front of people. I've done so much. I was in choir, orchestra, band, theater. I do film. I've done all of the creative arts stuff. I've presented myself in front of so many people. I have never, there's always this moment before you get on a stage where you have to kind of breathe and you have to kind of realize what you're about to do, and you have to be like, I know my lines, I know my notes, I know what I'm doing. And you're nervous, you're anxious, you are fearful because you're staring into a black pit and you don't know who's in the audience. But going up in March against all of these people who were against me and my friends, who were against people that I love and that I just want to have like rights, I didn't feel any anxiousness at all. I got up there and I was just like, you know what? I don't like you. I don't like what you're doing. Here's some proof as to what you're doing. Like, here's what, if you do this, this is what's gonna happen. And then they did it.
And we cannot allow people to continue down a path of fantasy to where they're going to end up 10, 20, 30 years down the road and find themselves miserable from decisions that they made when they were young.
They praised other parts of the bill that limit discussions about LGBTQ issues in school and give parents the right to opt their children out of curriculum they disagree with.
And we should have the say at every part of their life. And that's what this legislation is about. My children don't belong to the government. They don't belong to the school. They don't belong to some idea. God gave them to me, and they belong to me.
I think growing up for anyone is really hard. Growing up for me, I had a lot of good moments and a lot of bad moments. You know, I was a pink pretty princess girl. I went to Justice and I went to Claire's and I wore bows and I wore jewelry, and that still kind of translates into today. I love dressing up. But there was kind of this shift in my behavior come around middle school, the coming of age, where I just kind of stopped doing all of that, and I wore like only black and dark reds, and I wore my hair in front of my face, and I was having a hard time figuring out who I was. But I think what really helped was when I sort of, not necessarily came out, because I've never come out. I've never explicitly like had a big coming out thing where it's like, oh, hi guys, this is what I am. I sort of came out to myself. I kind of took the time to really think about who I was, and I came to terms with the fact that I was like, oh yes, girl, you are bisexual, you love the color pink, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no one that you have to be specifically for people. And I kind of discovered that summer between sophomore and junior year, because that was the summer I bleached my hair, which doesn't sound like a big transition, but when you are a brunette who kind of lives as this inner darkness, going from that transition is really big. The first transition was obviously like when I cut my hair into my short bob that I had for a really long time, and then bleaching my hair and growing it back out and wearing the color pink again and declaring I'm bisexual and being really comfortable with myself. You know, that is something that I have. But then 150 happened, and I realized that not every kid had that.
Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is I've been in charge of getting speakers up here and getting them to speak, obviously. And one of the things that I've realized is these bills are making it very hard for a lot of kids to raise their voice. And I want to take a moment to put my heart out there for all of the kids that are scared to stand up. Because that's what this is doing. This This is making kids scared to get up there, scared to do things that they love, all because they want to be who they are. And so now, for the rest of this rally, we're going to be reading anonymous messages that we have received. And these anonymous messages that I have gotten and I have had to go through and read, I've cried a couple times. It's really sad. I am a freshman at Atherton High. I came out as transgender in 2017 while I was in 4th grade in Boyd County. My elementary school didn't have any adaptations for a trans student, which left me isolated on more than one occasion. There were mandatory bathroom breaks and no gender-neutral bathrooms available to students twice a day, and gendered lunch seating to prevent any intimacy. I had never been more emotionally damaged than I was right then, so I tried to kill myself. I was done living like that. I was done letting people tell me what was right and what was wrong. If we are supposed to be living in America, the land of the free, then why am I not free to be me?
Fixing that. Okay. It's the beginning of 2nd semester. And I'm feeling really weird about graduating because, like, I've never been fully on my own before, and I'm going to college, and it's gonna be so weird because, man, this lighting is really bad. We're gonna ignore that. I don't know, I'm feeling really weird. I got a printer though. It's that thingy right there. So that's my printer. And I got my frame for my diploma when I get my diploma. And then I got this little Snoopy for when I graduate that people can sign. Mwah. But I'm preparing to graduate. And it's like weird.
Okay, this is currently editing mode me. And I'm sitting here and I'm editing this, and I kind of realized I haven't really talked about the aftermath all too much. When I think about the aftermath, it's a little sad. Because, on two parts. One, because everyone acts like it's fine. Like, you don't notice a difference. Like, everyone acts like, oh, nothing's different, everything's okay, we're keeping it the same. But they're wrong. There is a difference. One of the biggest differences that I've noticed is sometimes when teachers are talking about LGBTQ plus topics now, they have to be like, they have to pull up a piece of paper, or they have to like look on their laptops, and they have to see, oh, what can I and can't I do now because of the bills. That is so ridiculous to me, because you don't have to do that for anything else but this. And like, I'm about to finish high school. I'm in my final month. This is like my last full week of school. And I like, kids after me have to deal with that. Like, I've only had to deal with it for 1 year, my senior year, and I'm basically, like, I'm an adult now, so it's like, I don't really have to deal with that a lot, but, like, kids younger than me have to deal with that, and that is just so ridiculous to me. So in college, I'm gonna fight even harder. Back to editing, though.
I've heard supporters of this bill say that transgender people have mental illness. You're wrong. But if that's what you believe, what is your plan to help? All I see are attempts to deny them the help that their parents and their doctors, and most importantly, they themselves say they need. That is inhumane and cruel. I've also heard that no one in Kentucky with a modicum of expertise on this issue spoke in favor of this bill because they were scared. That's why we had all these out-of-state hucksters testifying for the bill, while hundreds of Kentuckians who opposed the bill were in the room, in the hallways, in our offices, in this gallery, story.
I get really sad when I think about the afterword. Because, I go back and I rewatch all of those old clips of the legislators and me and all of us speaking. And we're listing off all these statistics of like suicide and people who hurt themselves and, drop out of school. And it's just, if you cared so much about the children, go help the children. And if you so much want it to be the parents' choice, make it the parents' choice. You can't say one thing that contradicts the other. That's not how this works. You can't bring in the facts of God into a legislation. As a Christian, I don't like when we bring the church into the state. I love that separation of power. It keeps things balanced. And nowadays, we're bringing that back in, and it's really shocking and confusing to me. So that's the part that really gets me upset, is when I think about that aftermath. All those kids that have to deal with everything.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, sunshine.
The earth says hello. So. Okay. So, I'm in the final stages of my documentary.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have only 2 questions to ask you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So my first one.
Get in your comfortable position.
Okay, get in your comfortable position.
This is serious.
Okay.
What's up?
So my first question is, how has the aftermath been since last year? Like, you've had a whole year to reflect on everything. How's life been?
Yes. It's been interesting. I've had a lot of people reach out asking if I can do things for them. I guess after, I don't want to say publicity, but do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Oh, I've had that too.
So I guess just all that happening, and obviously I can't do it because I work full time and I'm in school.
Yeah, me too.
But I guess also just the fact that, like, there's more things happening.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting, and especially since I can't do anything, that frustrates me as well.
How's that been for you personally? Because I know for me personally that it sometimes puts a hindrance on what I think I can do, because like you do so much and then it like there's no avail. So
right.
How's that for you?
I guess I'm in the same boat. I feel like we did so much. Like, we went over the top with that. And I feel like there's nothing that I can do that will, like, be as good as what we did.
Yeah, and if that was the best that we could do and it still failed, like, then...
Right.
Then what?
And I think, especially now that I'm graduated and, like, I'm considered an adult at my 19 grown age,
yeah,
nobody's gonna listen to me. Especially if nobody listened to me when I was 18 and still in high school.
Yeah. And I turned 18 this Thursday, and I still feel like like when I think about it, I did that at 16, and I'll be 18 this Thursday, and I'm like, I will never, I feel like I'll never be able to do something like that ever again.
Right. I don't know. I think it just comes from a point of, like, if nobody listened to me when I was 18, who's going to listen to someone who's almost 20?
Yeah.
Like.
But, on the bright side, because I've been, making this documentary. It comes out this Friday. I've been looking. There's so many supporters, though. And like reflecting, I'm like, it's kind of bonkers. And I've cried a lot while making this. I'm really happy you and Africa were there for me as mentors. As mentors, it's pretty great. And wrap it up real quick because I know you're getting ready for work. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you guys to see it on Friday.
I'm excited to see it. Yeah, I'd like to say I'm your biggest supporter, even though I never reach out anymore, and I apologize for that.
It's just because life is crazy, man.
Yeah. But I'm always your biggest supporter, and I'm always here for you. You know that. And
Yeah.
I'm always proud of you, no matter what you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, I gotta go finish this documentary now.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Have fun. You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you.
Bye. Okay.
The Independent reached out. And we got to do an article. We got interviewed for an article for The Independent. And then I realized that's what this is about. You did it. So that way in the future, you can do it again and again and again until everything is okay. And you'll keep going until they finally hear you. That article, I sent it to my dad, and my dad was really proud of me. I think the Independent article was the first time I really realized that it's not just your state that's watching, it's the whole nation. Having nation eyes on you it's kind of scary, but I'm really happy I did it. Like that night when I cried because it got, overturned and it's law, all of that kind of went away because people still texted me, Murphy in Africa, and told us thank you. And we inspired other people to do something similar. And that's kind of what I want to be. I just want to be an inspiration to people. So.